Every company has difference makers, the people who go above and beyond what's required. This podcast is dedicated to the people who challenge the status quo and make good companies great. Today, we're sharing one story from one company in our effort to inspire others. Welcome, everyone, to Difference Makers, our first podcast ever. So I wanted to say thank you to everyone for tuning in. My guest today is actually my partner. I figured we'd use my partner as a guinea pig for our first episode. I'd like to introduce Jeff Jackson, my partner, my business partner for 24 years. Jeff, welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks for being on the show. Well, Jeff, obviously we go way, way back. A lot of people don't know about our history. They know who we are. We've built a good name in the business. I'm proud of that. In fact, you know, it's funny. I was thinking the other day, I was talking to my wife. I don't even know my professional life without you in it. It's crazy.
It's true.
But you know, this podcast is to talk about people that make a difference. People that make, they challenge the status quo. They make good companies great. And I feel like you do that here. And especially in light of the recent demand and workload that we've taken on in the mortgage business. But before we go down that road, I want to kind of go way back and ask you, how did you get in the business? How did you, because I don't think I've ever asked you that question.
Yeah. So I'll go ahead and date myself. So I've been doing this for about 25, 26 years. A friend of mine that I grew up with playing baseball and football with for years, a lifelong friend of mine, was actually in the search business. I'd just gotten through with school and I had a couple of sales jobs that I wasn't too crazy about. And he had talked to me about getting into recruiting and working in the search business. He made the introduction and I had a chance to go. Initially, I met with the owner, went to lunch, and good guy, and then had an opportunity to right after that to meet with all of the partners. It was a fairly lengthy day. There were 6 of them I had to go through. At the end of the day, I remember thinking to myself, "Well, I think this is what I'm going to do." It's funny looking back, though. I thought I knew what I was getting into. I thought I knew a little bit about search and recruiting, and looking back, I didn't know a damn thing. And it's funny, and you've done this too over the years, and even my family, or my wife's family, people still don't understand what we do. It's kind of odd, It's not like it's really defined in the public eyes in terms of what is a search firm or what is a recruiter.
How many times has somebody said to you, "Oh, I know what you do. You find people jobs."
Right.
And
or
you just look at them like, "I'm exhausted. I don't even want to answer you." No, that's not what we do.
Yeah. Or hey, I know somebody that's looking for a job. Can you help them? We're the farthest thing from a placement agency. We don't find anybody jobs. I mean, technically we move them into companies, but I think my immediate family after 25 years has an idea what I do, but they don't know a day in the life,
Yeah, that's totally the same way with my family. They think that they know what I do for a living, and they don't.
Jim finds people jobs.
Oh yeah, my friend's my friend is in construction. He's like, oh, man, I'd love to help you, but
just roll with it.
People don't understand that what we do. I mean, we're headhunters, and isn't that also funny how people think headhunter is a negative term? It's like, I love being called a headhunter. That's what I love to do. It's a specialty. It is. It's not everybody can do it, and
it's a form of sales, but you're not getting people to open up their wallet. We're the ones that have the opportunity.
So, do you have, or did you have in your younger recruitment career any mentors maybe that helped shape you, or even in life? Maybe not just in the job, but in life. Like, if you had to think back, like, who mentored me, or who did you look at and say, man, that's somebody I think I would love to be like?
Well, I will say that you don't grow up as a kid wanting to be a recruiter.
It's kind of a hidden industry, actually.
Yeah, so I didn't even know really that it existed until I got out of school and kind of got in the real world. But I'll answer both questions. I mean, we actually, both of us, kind of cut our teeth at a firm here locally that there really was. I know for you, there was really one guy, that you felt like was your mentor. For me, it was really not one guy. It was several people there that really helped me initially, kind of get a feel for things, and that I felt comfortable going to. And one of them actually turned out to be a really good friend of mine. Was actually in my wedding, believe it or not. So, but a good group of guys there. And then outside of that, for me, I mean, probably a couple of people that have I've always kind of looked to. One of them's not with us anymore, but my dad for sure. And I think I got a lot of the that entrepreneurial bug from him, watching him, get involved in opening up different businesses. He ultimately,
Your dad, he was in the mortgage business.
well, before
right?
that, he had multiple businesses,
Mm-hmm.
and I mean, you name it, he did it. And then he ultimately landed, ironically, in the mortgage business, and that was how I was familiar with the mortgage business. My father-in-law is another guy too, who him and my dad both played together in the NFL. But really, the thing with him is that he's a guy that everyone could learn something from. And just in terms of how he treats people, I've never seen anything like it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care what kind of day he's having, but he greets everyone with a smile and has the most amazing demeanor you'll ever see. And then the last guy is certainly, and he died 2 years ago, was my stepfather, just simply because of his attitude. I mean, couldn't shake him every day.
Yeah.
He was awesome.
I want to go back to something you said. What is that like growing up, the son of an NFL player? And your wife also, right?
Yeah.
Ultimately became your wife. What's that like? I mean, 2 training camp brats. What is that like?
It was really no big deal for us, And
Yeah.
my wife was always a little pissed because she couldn't go to practice, and I was allowed to go in the locker room and she wasn't. So 'cause she was kind of a tomboy, growing up for
Mhm.
sure. And but yeah, really not a big deal. I'd go to. We lived in Chicago.
Well, it's a big deal for everyone else.
I know, but and looking back, it was.
You
a big
think
deal.
it's no big deal?
Well, no, at the time, it's probably the same as kids today. It's just kind of what their dad does. It's really not.
Yeah.
But when I went to school and people were asking me to get their card signed, I'm like, I thought for a minute, can I make some money at this? But I would
See,
go.
the business sense was already kicking in at the young age.
I would go in the locker room and basically steal sweatbands and things like that. I'd wear the sweatbands to school, and one of his best friends was the center.
That's hilarious.
It's true. One of his
Oh,
best
I love
friends
it.
was the center, and he would. I guess they allowed him to bring his dog to practice, so I remember walking the dog at practice. But yeah, my wife to this day is still pissed that she wasn't allowed to go to practice. So.
That's great. That's great. I'm glad we talked about that one. I didn't know that. We're going to take a break to pay the bills. Difference Makers podcast is powered by Verity Search. Verity Search is a different type of executive search firm. With industry insights and access to data unlike other firms, Verity serves as a trusted advisor to its valued clients. In today's competitive war for talent, they understand recruiting requires having a strong sales and marketing approach. Recruiting is not posting jobs online and waiting for unqualified people to apply. It's active, it's engaging, and it's working with people while maintaining extreme confidentiality. Verity seeks to build strong, trusted relationships and initiate conversations with industry leaders. Their solutions and techniques are innovative and brave, but based on industry knowledge and key identification strategies. Verity helps clients with their most complex strategic challenges. Some of the key services include strategy planning, research, marketing, prospect identification, qualification, and recruitment across all markets and geographies. If you'd like more information, please check out the website at veritysearch.com. So, Jeff, every day between 6 and 7 a.m., we text each other something, right? Typically, a video, some kind of motivational something, because I think that's part of your morning, part of my morning. We look for inspiration. We try to inspire others. We're both at that age now, and we're past the 50-year mark, and I remember when we first started together, we were kids, and here we are at this age, and it's interesting. You look back and you think about kind of where you're at today and where you were, and I want to make a difference, and I want to make a difference in other people's lives, and I want to take young people and give them an opportunity. And I've always been that way. I had a baseball business for many years where I put 100 kids in college scholarships over 3 years' time. That was not much money, but extremely rewarding. Just kind of fills the soul. And if I didn't have to deal with parents, I'd still be in it.
Of course.
But my question is, what drives you? What motivates you to win every day? Like, you come in here to win every day. I come in here to win. But what drives you?
Well, for me, it's there's a couple things. One, as you get older, you realize that no matter how successful you become, or no matter how much money you have, or the one thing you can't get back is time. So for me, being the age that I am, I mean, I'm 52. I am on the back nine for sure. So I feel like and not that I wasted time when I was younger, but
you don't feel old, do you?
No.
I don't either.
I act like I'm 25. Just ask people. So
ask my wife.
Right.
Yeah,
but to me, that's the one thing that we can't get back is time. So, and I'm not saying you got to get up and go 90 miles an hour every day. You got to stop and, take time for people in your life and all of that. But I don't want to waste any time, and I don't have any time for people that are going to bog me down or have bad attitudes or bring anything toxic into my life. I have the patience of a 2-year-old to begin with, but I have zero tolerance for any negativity, and I just don't have time for it. But really, to finish the question, number one, I want my family to be proud of me and know that, I'm out there hustling for them, number one. And then also, the other thing that motivates me is just, I'm competitive, and the guys here, the team we have here, men and women here, but, I feel a responsibility to them that they all have families and, not that they live or die by my decisions or what I do on a daily basis, but they are impacted by it. So I've got to, we've got to come in here and do our thing. So
how has the business or the industry of recruiting evolved since we started, really? Because you got a little head start on me, but then I came in shortly after you, and
and I might add, on the very first day, you asked me to go to lunch, and you asked me what am I making out of the gate.
I didn't ask you to go to lunch. I was told that this guy's going to take you to lunch. And yes, I did.
They asked me to take you to lunch.
I wanted to cut through the BS.
I'm like,
are you making any money or not?
I'm like, dude, really?
Yeah, am I being sold the dream
we
here?
We just met. And you want to check? You want to look at my W-2?
Yeah, I remember that.
It's not a lot. I'm just getting started.
So how much you banging down? Yeah. So how has it changed since we started? I mean, I can obviously help answer that question.
Yeah.
I remember we had no computers.
Well, the guys here are a little tired of our up the hill in the snow speech both ways, coming and going with no shoes speech. But it's true. The things that they have at their fingertips, we would have killed for. I mean, there was no cell phones. There was no texting. There was no email.
There was no computer on our desk.
There was no computer on our desk. It was simply a phone, and I think they threw us a headset. It was waiting on. But the point of this
you had to create it.
You did, but the one thing is gathering names and research was.
That was an all-day thing.
A project. Yeah. I mean, you're waiting on the mail. You're waiting on faxes to come in from the Chamber of Commerce. I look back and I'm like, good Lord. I mean, it's amazing. And then today, everything is, the technology that we have at our fingertips is amazing, and we've taken advantage of it. But still, having said all that, we still find ourselves coming back to the most powerful tool we have is the phone. And I hope it stays that way. There's a lot of, and that's because that's really how we separate ourselves from all the other hundreds or thousands of recruiters I'm not saying there's no other good recruiters out there. There's plenty of really quality people that are doing this.
But there are people that have gotten into recruiting that have an aversion to picking up the telephone. They're call reluctant, right? Because they'd rather sit behind the screen. It's like my kids. It's like, I'll have one of my kids will text me from the other room. It's like, what? Get up and come talk to me.
Yeah, I hear you.
So that's the generation that we're in, and recruiters rely too much on electronic communication, right?
There's a lot of that, and it works on occasion. I'm not saying that we don't put those lines in the water, because we do, but there's no substitute for picking up the phone. And especially right now with what's going on in the mortgage business with operations, it's just it's bananas. It's never been like this ever. And
what's some of the craziest things you're seeing in that space right now?
Well, I think just the activity is over the top, and I think the demand is obviously huge, and the comp plans are just going through the roof. But I think back to the question is if I just to use an underwriter as an example, they're getting literally 10 to 15 emails a day through different Texas emails. And it's just
LinkedIn messages.
Majority of them are delete. It doesn't work. So if you want to sit behind a keyboard and try to make a living, good luck to you. Okay.
Yeah,
if you're not willing to pick up the phone and call people, and that's really, that's the difference. Really, that's the difference maker is picking up the phone and trying to develop those relationships and letting them know, hey, we've got some really tremendous opportunities, but not just that, not calling them up, just pitching them. It's just really about kind of getting a feel for the candidate and what their needs are and going from there. But yeah, picking up the phone is something that hope it never goes away, because that would be a game changer for us if it did.
Yeah. We talk about the demand right now, what's going on. You were talking the other day about a deal where you had a candidate that had committed to a deal and had provided a list of references to the new hiring company. The hiring company decided to be very HR-ish and start checking references of an underwriter that had been phenomenal at her job for a long time and had good tenure. And we've heard about some other crazy stories where people are calling and want their high school diploma after 18 years of professional underwriting. But back to that story, didn't you have this company doing a reference check? And one of the reference checks was a former employer who then picked up the phone and called that candidate and stole them?
Just served them up. Served them up. So, yeah, they're like, oh, you're looking for a deal? I've got one for you. And they made an offer and took them right off the table.
That's just low rent right there, buddy. But it happens. So we talked about that. We talked about how the business has changed, how recruiting has evolved. What do you think the biggest challenge is that you face right now in this industry? You focus in mortgage banking, so what's the biggest challenge for you right now?
I think it's, for me, and I hit on it earlier. It's really the amount of activity right now that these candidates are getting hit with.
Keeping up with the demand and then differentiating yourself with them.
Right. It's overwhelming for them what's happening, in the business. Even before all this craziness with the rates being where they are. In terms of the amount of people that are coming at them, it's a lot. Yeah. And so that kind of goes.
And they're not used to it.
They're not.
Well, these are the lowest rates in the history of history, right? These rates have never been at where we're at right now. Yeah. Ever. So it is unprecedented. And, if I hear one more company say we broke a record this month, I'm going to
good. You should
jump out the glass, right? Yeah. Everybody's breaking records, so we get it. Are there any recruiting is like we talked about? It's a hidden industry, so to speak, right? It's a highly unregulated industry, and recruiting is a loosely used term. It could be the 21-year-old that just graduated from college who's hired as a quote unquote recruiter, or it could be a specialty person like you and I that have all the seasoning and business experience. And really, I prefer to be identified as a headhunter, right? Because I don't really want to be termed a recruiter.
I don't really care.
I don't want to get lumped in. It's just that people, to me, I think that sometimes you're judged based on the one title, I guess, but when I think about it, there's good recruiters, there's bad recruiters, there's good lawyers, there's bad lawyers, there's good loan officers.
I'd rather be called an agent if I had to pick something, but I really don't care.
Talk about that. So agent, I've heard you talk about this before, and you use the sports analogy. So what are the similarities between recruiting for business and, say, recruiting in sports?
Well, they're both super competitive, and you're going after talent that is being sought after by multiple companies, or in sports, multiple teams. So to me, right now, whether you're on the sales side or operations side, I think people are a little tired of the same old, meaning that recruiter that calls them up and starts spitting out about how amazing their client is, and without knowing the first thing about the candidate, and they don't even come up for air. And the candidate's just sitting here like, are you freaking kidding me right now? Hi, my name's Steve.
It's kind of like you get the LinkedIn request, and then within a second, you've got the solicitation.
So it goes back to just making the phone call. So the thing that I tell people is, and it's the truth, and we kind of made a shift about a year ago, year and a half. We said, what, let's change the game a little bit. Let's act as more of an agent. Now, yes, do our clients, they pay our fees? Of course they do. But the candidates are really what fuels the fire here, right? So let's act as more of an agent for them and really represent them, And in some cases, it may be more than one opportunity, But I think the candidate appreciates us getting to know them a little bit first, okay? Find out what's important to them. These are some things, these are some must-haves for me, Jeff. This is kind of a starting point for me. Or these are some things that are going on now. And then I can come back to them saying, hey, based on our conversation, here's a few things that I think might make sense to at least talk about.
Why is that more effective as an agent, independent agent such as yourself, as opposed to an inside recruiter at a corporation?
Well, the obvious is that they only can share one opportunity. If I'm working for ABC Mortgage, all I have to talk about is ABC Mortgage.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Versus we have an amazing stable of clients. And some of them are better fits than others for certain people.
Yeah.
But I think the big thing is just developing that trust factor with that candidate to let them know, hey, we're going to truly look out for you. Not only are we going to make the introduction, we're going to stay we're going to stay glued at the hip all the way through to the goal line in terms of walking you through the negotiation process. We're going to do that on your behalf. We're going to walk you through the resignation on the best ways to handle that, the best ways to handle what's coming at you, because you are going to get countered typically. And then really all the way till they're sitting in their seat for training. And
the beautiful part of that is it costs them how much?
Zip.
Zero. It costs them zero because the client really needs to acquire them. So it's our job to really identify best fit, right? Square peg, square hole,
Yep.
round peg, round hole.
Yeah.
I love that analogy you use, the sports agent for mortgage athletes, because if you think about it, these folks in the mortgage business, they're making six figures and above, right? We're not talking about low, earning positions. And that's always been my contention with people that are in the businesses. Why would you not talk with a specialty recruitment firm that specializes and's got 25 various clients, whether that's in servicing or wholesale or retail or, whatever the case may be, vendor, the vendor space is huge in the mortgage business as well. Why would you not talk with a company that's plugged into a multitude of different platforms and opportunities and really understand what your true value is in the marketplace? I mean, it's free. It costs you zero, right?
Right.
So speaking of sports, I know your dad played for the Bears and your wife's dad played for the Oilers.
No, he played with the Bears. He played with Dallas and the Bears.
I thought he played for the Oilers.
No, he played initially with Dallas, was traded to the Bears, played the majority of his career there. Then he finished with Dallas. Yeah. No,
what's the Houston connection?
She used to work for the Oilers.
Oh, she got a job with the Oilers.
Correct.
Where did I get? Okay, I got that mixed up. But you know where I'm going with this. I suspect your Bears haven't had a quarterback in going on 20 years right now. So since McMahon. So what's going on there? Is it just quarterback adverse in Chicago?
It's cool of you to bring it up. So it hurts a little more that knowing that they had an opportunity to get Patrick Mahomes and Deshaun Watson.
Yeah.
It's easy to look back
and
say coulda, shoulda.
Yeah.
But knowing that they could have had Deshaun Watson or Patrick Mahomes stings a little bit, but appreciate you bringing it up. Not everybody can be blessed with a quarterback like Tom Brady for the last 50 years. So, But,
for those of you that don't know, I'm a rabid New England Patriots fan. But you know what? I grew up with 1 in 15 seasons. I was a face painter in the end zone. Had my face painted. Had the Grogan's Heroes sign.
She wouldn't have told me that.
Yeah, I've done all that. So I paid my dues. I'm not a bandwagoner whatsoever. So I'm real proud to be a New England Patriots fan
and a current Bucs season ticket holder.
And I bought the Bucs season tickets since it's an hour and 15 minutes down the road. And people said, my brother, he says, well, Brady's dead to me. I'm like, are you out of your mind? He made you a champion, like how could you? I mean, the guy's got 2 years left and he wants to go win and he doesn't want to rebuild. I don't blame the guy and I wish him the best. And, people say, well, I don't like the Bucs. I'm not a Bucs fan, but if you could say
the Bucs are the most fun team to watch right now.
But if you could go back in time,
now that they added Gronk,
let me ask you this: if you could go back in time and say you saw Babe Ruth play his last 2 years, you would do it, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So I'm going to go see Babe Ruth play.
Yeah, well,
his last name's Brady. That's all.
Having Gronk makes them the most interesting team in the NFL now.
I agree. Well, I don't really have anything else. I'm going to say thanks for taking time out. I know you're busy, but it was good to pull you out from behind that desk for a few minutes. For those of you that don't know, Jeff Jackson is a managing partner at Verity Search, and they specialize in mortgage banking recruitment, everything from processors to presidents. Jeff, thanks for being here.
Yeah, man, appreciate it.
All right, buddy. Take care.